You know, it's quite amazing actually. I was inside looking outside and listening to the Day 5. Here we are. This map needs to be upside down for it to make sense to most folks. The older couple, well, I say older, they're about my age. We got on the subject of these maps and they agreed it's very confusing. And they were actually talking about, many years ago, a body was found somewhere, I think, out along the wetland. It had been there for a few months, apparently, or fairly certain that the person got lost, trying to find her way back to the parking lot, which is clearly marked with a big P. So why she got lost, maybe I don't know. Anyway, this was got to be a grueling route. I don't like this reflection. Yesterday when I came back, it seemed to go on and on and on and on. And I had been out there for an hour and I was a little concerned about me meeting the same fate that woman had met. But I made it back, as you can tell. So I'm going to start out here. Go back along there. Yeah, it's like getting back on the horse after you've fallen off. Then when I get to here, well, I don't know what. I really want to go back down to the dock. I liked that. Look at the size of that leaf. What kind of a tree is this, folks? It's about 8 inches long. Look at that cutie. I'm coming. This is a beautiful stand of red pines. Call it the cathedral. Wonderful. I'm feeling stronger from walking out here. I know that's sort of being fit doesn't happen after 4 days, but nonetheless. But admittedly so, returning to the subject I was on before I interrupted myself, I do feel like doing this 1.1 kilometer trail first, and when I'm fresh after the night's sleep. Love to see this with about 4 feet more height of water in here, which I'm sure at one time there was. A couple weeks ago I mentioned to the camera that, oh, grasshoppers are all gone now. Oh, no they're not. They are very abundant. Don't know why they weren't in evidence when I said that, because there weren't any. Was it too early in the morning? Was it too chilly yet? Perhaps. One of the very interesting things that Suzanne Simard talked about, she's the author of Finding the Mother Tree. They have discovered DNA in the rings of the old growth trees. They don't have to be old growth, I don't think. Of a certain marker, DNA marker that appears in salmon. She scratched her head about this a little bit and then figured it out that grizzly bears catches salmon in a nearby river. They carry it into the woods to their favorite eating place under a tree. They eat and leave everything there, which decays into the earth, and the DNA is picked up by the tree's communication network underground and carried up into its system, where the DNA from that salmon shows up. That's just fantastic. How science can discover, uncover, open up all manner of mysteries. And what really excites me is, what haven't we discovered that's just waiting out there? Has been waiting since the earth was new. Well, I won't be around to know, but I think I will be around to know in a different form. My soul will be still actively alive and conscious to investigate all manner of curiosities. I have no sense of north, south, east, west out here. Yesterday I thought I ought to get a compass. Duh! I got one on the phone. I guess she's been for a total swim. Oh, goodness. Look up. Always look up. The sun will be under or above a cloud bank that's just about here. She doesn't understand that a dog getting wet is going to stay wet for hours, so she can deposit it on the love seat. Oh, my other camera, she's going to knock that in the swamp. I'm watching creatures from the deep far out in the lake. This camera it didn't get knocked in the swamp. This camera has an electronic shutter. I've talked about this previously, but I don't know when, and you probably might remember it, but I certainly don't, so I'll talk about it again. It has an electronic shutter as well as a mechanical shutter. And I haven't thought a thing about using the electronic shutter. I don't even know how to get to it, and why would I want to use it anyway? Well, one reason I'd want to use it is when I do time-lapse, for instance. I usually go 500 frames, sometimes 600 or 700. And if I'm using the mechanical shutter, it's opening and closing 500 times, 600 times, 700 times. It's putting wear on it. And a mechanical shutter has a, I don't know what they call it, cycle life of 200,000, 300,000 activations. Oh, if you use the electronic shutter, you're not moving anything. It's totally silent. It freaked me out the first time I used it because, wait a minute, I'm looking through the viewfinder, I push the shutter button, and it goes dark for a brief instant while the picture's being taken, but you don't hear anything. I'm so used to, my whole life, hearing the shutter clunk clunk. And my old Canon, which wasn't a mirrorless camera, are you looking to cause some trouble here? I moved my camera so you wouldn't knock it into the swamp on that side. So using the electronic shutter, there are some things that the camera won't do when you're in the electronic shutter versus the mechanical shutter, and I had to learn that just by default. I'm watching creatures from the deep far out in the lake. I'm confident in telling you that those are probably lily pads raising up. Oh, now there's 3 or 4 of them at the same time. My creatures out there. And I'm certain that this pond, this lake, is no deeper than maybe 2 feet to 3 feet. So those are lily pads lifting up in the wind. I went to a lake in Wisconsin once, all excited. Launched the boat. They had a boat ramp, everything. Totally undeveloped lake in a state forest. And it was all mine. Beautiful, warm summer day. Got the boat in and looked down in the water. It was about 3 feet deep. Okay. Backed out, back further into the lake to turn around, and I idled around the entire lake. It never got deeper than 3 feet. Jesus. I can see why it doesn't get used much. There are probably very few fish, if any. I didn't fish. I didn't go prepared to fish. Probably didn't even have a fishing license or a driver's license. It reminds me of the time when I worked at a hardware store while I was going to school. A guy came in, his name was Matt. He was a nice guy. He worked at a Nissan and Honda dealership. I hadn't seen Matt for, I don't know, a year or 2 years. He's not the sort of person that I thought about, well, I wonder where Matt's been these days. You know, one of these acquaintances that are come and go. You barely know him. Anyway, he came into the hardware. I met him at the door. Hey, what can I do for you? I said, when did you get out of jail? Just joking. He said Wednesday. He was serious. I That's the sort of guy he was. He didn't have anything to hide. Whatever his offense was, it wasn't a prison term. I guess he was in jail for 30 days or 90 days, whatever. And I laughed because he was being serious. And he said, he talked about it. So anytime you ask somebody anything that's off the wall, be prepared for a surprise. That's right, I was going to do a time lapse out here. But a time lapse takes 10 or 15 minutes if you want to get an adequate one. I am going to do that. If I have enough battery. Nope, sorry folks. Only got 50% battery, and the backup battery is still at home, not in my pocket. So, okay. This color, this time of year, fall, you get used to it so easily. Yeah, it's beautiful colors out here, isn't it? And then you come outside and all of a sudden the trees are bare. There's no color. And I had squandered the show-stopping show. Oh yeah, I want to find out what way to go. We are here. And we came from here. And we're not going to go this way because that's the wetland. So we only got one, or we got two choices. Go back the way we came or take this, which is what we're going to do. I'm coming, I'm coming. This view has a storybook feel to it. I'm coming, I'm coming. Oh, that is beautiful. I wonder how long this has been standing dead. Look how much that has been mined for insects. That's a good example of natural world with its abundance of resources that we don't know about. You see a dead tree in the woods like that, well, it's no good to anybody. Why is it standing there? It's one of the things Suzanne Simard talked about at length, is the rot on a forest floor when a tree falls and hits the earth and lays there for decades, contributing vast amounts of resources to the soil. And animals, like reptiles, for one, make homes in there and feed off of it. as it rots, and that rot is a terrific building block for soil. Compost, in other words. That's one of the values of hugel culture. Yeah, Hugel culture. That's a method of building soil. A hugel mound does that. You get old rotten logs, sections, and you lay them in a shallow trench, and you pile all manner of organic material in there. Dead leaves, grass clippings. You add another layer of soil, and it becomes a rich hotbed of teeming organic action. Biome. I gotta make this fast because I'm running out of battery, but on Google Maps from aerial, this little lake shows a boardwalk going out to it. But there's no marked anything, so I'm walking down what seems to be a little bit of a path, old path, not maintained, but maybe it's a game trail. Nonetheless, I'm going to try to find myself a boardwalk, and if I do, it's going to be all mine. Aha! Look at that. Are those swans out there? New trail. How about that for daunting? Oh my.